Hello and welcome to the Andromeda initiative for the Asari led by the ExoGeni Corporation to seek out and explore, mine, and redistribute wealth through Andromeda and bring it back, possibly. But if nothing else, to set up a new colonization effort for continued prosperity of the Asari nation. We have taken it upon ourselves to have a new form of government with new leaders, new exploration groups, and to have a rewriting of Asari history. I am Nick at Night. Please join me on this campaign into the Mass Effect Andromeda universe. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the actual game of Stellaris, where you guys already saw my early rendition of just kind of a little RPG playful intro into the Asari ExoGeni Andromeda campaign we are going to take off with here in just a few minutes. But first of all, I wanted to just run you guys who are new to the game or are familiar with the game and at least give you an understanding of what we're playing with here. So we're going to be playing the Asari, a fun downloaded mod to the Stellaris game. We have their actual symbol for the people. Over here we have their ship in the bottom right. That's what they look like, which I thought was neat because it kind of resembles the way that their heads kind of look, and they're very neat. We're going to be running on a warp drive for this game because we've moved away from the mass accelerator universe of our own system in Mass Effect. So since we don't have mass relays to project our fleets using mass relays, we've invented new technology that allows us to move from one star to another, which is the warp drive. That's what they've used in the game, or at least the beginning of the show of Andromeda, to get us from our system to Andromeda. Also, we're going to be colonizing our first planet. Is going to be called New Thessia, of course, after the home planet of the Asari. Next is the mass drivers, which is going to be our projectile-based weapon, which is actually coming with us from our home galaxy here. It's a technology that is not unlike the technology that is used by almost all the Asari and Krogan and Turians. They use mass driver technology, which is essentially ramping up through magnetics a block or a shaving of a particular form of metal or alloy, and it hurling it at high speeds and heats in a particular direction. Also, this is our government tab over here. We're going to be playing as a plutocratic oligarchy. It's it's quite interesting actually, because whereas the standard Asari Republic doesn't really have necessarily a leader, in this game, the Republic system actually does have a leader, and they have a leader for about 5 to 10 years, and they cycle out, and you have a long list of individuals that you could choose from, and there's various benefits associated with that. And most people, when I've seen them play an Asari campaign, seems to be using this traditional idea or viewpoint that the Asari themselves kind of carry through. But I have decided that I don't want to play that way, because I've realized that the people that are coming to Andromeda want a new start, a new lease in life, and that's probably not the system of government that would be put in place, considering the way that they think and the way that the new people are coming to this new land or this new galaxy. And because the entire trip is being sponsored by ExoGeni, or at least paid for partially by them, at least in this campaign, I figured since it's a corporation that is working with the Asari government for this, they would actually require representatives of the corporation to be kind of in the higher echelons of the people to actually govern what is going on for the betterment of the company and the people that are now setting up shop in Andromeda. So a plutocratic oligarchy has just a select handful of individuals you can select as a government type, but it gives some very interesting benefits. It lets you go 40 to 50 years with that ruler as opposed to 5 or 10. So you're not going to be rotating individuals out with certain perks very often, which is nice because it keeps the government relatively stable from one period to another. Granted, the Asari live for 1,000 years, so have them rotate every 5 or 10 years is not that big of a deal, but to have longer stints of time, be in the game, playing with somebody, knowing what I'm going to have 40 or 50 years with might be a little bit easier, and I figured a corporation would actually really enjoy that. So just kind of a little bit of role play here, that's what we're going with. That, and I haven't seen almost anybody play this system with the Asari. So what's also awesome and beneficial from the plutocratic oligarchy that we get is we get to increase energy credits 5%, which will help us early game in particular. We also get a 5% mineral increase, and we also get a decreased building cost for all mining stations. So right off the bat, they're very corporate structure. We're there to mine and get resources and energy so that the corporation can flourish. And that I thought that was kind of neat, and that works really well. So also, the Asari are coming over are going to be militaristic. The Asari in and of themselves are spiritual and militaristic, and I thought that this would be a good blend between the two. They're mildly militaristic. We get certain things like war happiness for being at war, some increased weapon damage, and some rivalry improvement bonuses. So if we were to actually have a rivalry or go into war, the people on each tile of every planet would actually get a bonus for being there, being a part of the group, saying, yeah, let's do this, let's expand, let's spread Asari beliefs and culture and people everywhere. Next is going to be the fanatic spiritualist trait, which I actually believe the Asari in the actual Mass Effect universe seem to actually portray very strongly in the way that they organize not only their government, but the way that they seem to feel and interact with other sapient species. They're very benevolent and have this very strong inner connection between each other. I mean, even they don't even seem to reproduce in the same format of other organic life forms. They seem to almost make copies of themselves, but take a spiritual clone and a psychic copying of the genome of the father race in order to kind of add and mix up their own genes from one species, or at least one generation to the next. So I thought this fanatic spiritualist fit very well. What's interesting is the fanatic spiritualist gives us ethics divergence minus 30%. So this means that people are more likely to stay in line with the form of thinking that they have currently. They're not willing to try out new ideas. They actually are very happy with how things are and want to stay that way. And for the most part, that negative ethics divergence will actually make them more likely to be that way. Whereas otherwise, from one generation to the next generation, you would actually see a changeover in how they believe, what they think, how they want to interact, and things of that nature would actually progressively change as the population widens. That's not going to be as strongly the case in this campaign due to this ethics divergence, but if we were ever to move away from a fanatic spiritualist, that might change. Also, we also get a growth time is a negative 15%. The Asari don't have a lot of children generally, at least according to the lore. They tend to have one or two, and only during certain periods in their life. So already we have that built into the game, into the genetics here, down here. Asari selection, growth timer per population on each planet will be 25% longer. Well, that's very difficult in this game in Stellaris to have such a small population. It's nice to go really high in technology, and that will help, but it will actually make it more difficult to expand your influence of your empire. So I thought if I could tick down a little bit of that negative bonus, because let's be honest, the people that are coming from our galaxy to Andromeda are going to be somewhat different. They're going to have different belief systems to some extent, and at least some different feelings, and they're going to want to try to reproduce to maintain a level of the culture and society. So they're going to need a certain bit more, and they might be encouraged because there's a lack of them to, get it on, as it were, and have more Asari in the world. So I went with this, so it has a negative growth timer, which I actually think will help us significantly. So let's take a look. In the Asari game, or in the game, naturally beings live about 70 to 100 years old. Well, the Asari have this very interesting Asari lifespan trait, which is natural, which we brought over from Mass Effect, where they live about 900 plus years. So it brings them to around the 1,000-year mark threshold. We have the negative growth, or the positive growth timer, so it makes it actually difficult to have kids, or slower at least. The Asari seem to actually really like each other, and interact quite well amongst each other, and also with other species. So they get a communal happiness, a 5% bonus from being near other Asari on the same world. They're relatively physically weak. Their bodies are not designed like Turians and other species to actually exert physical strength or force. So they are relatively weak physically, but make up for it within their biology of their own biotics and the way that they view the world, their intellect. So their army damage is actually negative 20% when going to combat physically. Now, they're going to have psychic abilities and other things that will offset this physical military damage modifier. But also this gives a mining minerals decrease of 5%. So actually the corporation's plutocratic oligarchy bonus of 5% minerals is actually going to be negative. It's actually going to be nullified, so there's going to be no bonus or no negative decrease for that. Also, because since they're coming from our galaxy here in the Milky Way, I figured these individuals are going to be naturally a bit more interested in living a nomadic life, or at least be interested in exploring, being willing to push the boundaries and be out there and find out what is truly new and fascinating and inspiring, and to want to go see new and fascinating new creatures and planets. So I figured they'd be naturally nomadic. There's this drive within these individuals that are going to make this journey. Because let's be honest, those that are comfortable and happy with the status quo and what is going on back home, there's no reason for them to even make this journey. But those that want a new life, a new start, those are the ones who are going to come. And those belief and that natural yearning for that is actually going to give them what I believe would be a nomadic bonus. So they're going to increase migration speed from one planet to another if they like that other planet more, 50%. And we can resettle them if there is a difficulty and they have to move off planet, is a negative 30% speed. So this is going to be the Asari that we're going to be playing with, and I just wanted to introduce you guys to all the effects that we have going on into this campaign before we actually started it. And I really look forward to playing this with you guys. This should be a good time, and thank you for watching. And I look forward to seeing you guys, well, when we arrive in Andromeda. Thank you.